people. Finished the book, The Nile, the life story of a river. This is not typical reading material for me, but I picked that up in Chattanooga at this McKay's bookstore. And you see them bastards put a sticker on the dust cover. I couldn't get that sticker off. I tried to take it off, but I was ripping a hole in the cover. When I read it, I took the dust cover off, and the book underneath the dust cover is just gorgeous. This is, I believe, the first time that I've read Emil Ludwig. I have two other Emil Ludwig in my collection. I may have read one of them, like back in my 20s. So that means that I probably didn't understand it. So I think I'm going to reread that. The other one that I don't think I had read, I'm reading now, and I'm almost done with it. This was a wonderful little book. It's the geography of the river. It is the plants and animals that live along the river, or used to live along the river. And it's the history of the people that live along the river, both rivers, the blue and the white. A lot of, needless to say, a lot of very famous people have trod the dust along the Nile. This author, goes through the pharaohs, he goes through General Gordon, he goes through Kitchener, he goes through Napoleon, he goes through Alexander the Great, he goes through Cleopatra, Caesar, Ptolemy, the list is pretty much endless. And, of course, you can't go through all those subjects without, giving them a very basic once-over. You could write a whole book, and people have, about Cleopatra and Caesar. But if you didn't know anything about it, this would be a good place to start. And I really found out that I liked the way Ludwig writes. I'm sure he's dead now. He gets a little bit flowery when he's describing a sunset or a sunrise. So let's get to my notes here. There isn't too many notes. The book was published in 1937, Emil Ludwig, 605 pages, so it's a long book. He used the word gambol, or gamboling, and I really like that word. It means having fun. It means playing around. It means romping. This is my first Emil Ludwig, and I have, my note here is wisdom. Second paragraph, page 30. And I had a really hard time trying to figure out where I was going to read this, where I was going to do this video. And now, I'm thinking that I made a bad choice coming in here because I can't see too well. I cannot see the page numbers because the page numbers are really small. That's 40. That looks like 30. This is just a short paragraph, and I thought it shows some wisdom. He's talking about the people that live along the Nile. And in the beginning of the book, you're in the upper Nile, which is odd to me because I live where rivers run from the north to the south. But the Nile runs from the south to the north. So all through the book, whenever he was talking about downstream or below, I was screwed up. This race is believed to be a mixture of Bantu, Nilotic, and Hamitic tribes, but as nothing was ever written down, nothing is certain. And only one thing is sure, that here as everywhere the mingling of peoples has meant their happiness, and racial ambition their downfall. Second paragraph, page 251. This is not good because I am having a real hard time finding the page number. Oh my God. A lot of the rooms in this house have windows with the sun coming in. So my phone, when I set it up, gets this white blurry thing. That's why I looked for 251. Second paragraph, that's 250, 251. And the ear, in these wild romantic stretches of the Nile, is surprised in another way when the camel rider approaches the river along some desert track without seeing in the distance the tops of the palm trees or the masts of the sailing boats, for then only a remote roar rises to delight him, and he hails it in the desert as the Greeks once hailed the sea. Or again, as he rides along the river in flood time, he can distinguish amid the roar the perpetual rattling of the little stones, which the rising water loosens from the bank. I marked that paragraph because when I was hiking in the Smokies at night, you sit there and you can hear the boulders moving around in these little creeks. And I also marked that because this part, as the Greeks once hailed the sea, I read that Xenophon, the Persian expedition, and they're struggling. The 10,000 are struggling to get out of Persia. It's not 10,000 anymore. But when they see the sea, they say, "The sea, the sea." It's supposed to be a famous scene from a movie too, but I never saw the movie. Second paragraph, page 359. I have some explanatory notes there that I should probably read. This is a paragraph describing an Egyptian village. And I wrote down here, unchanged. At least in 1937 it was unchanged. The village is swarming with all kinds of animal life. Fowls of every description strut about with the self-importance of army officers, as though the world were revolving around them. And we begin to understand how Egypt can export 200 million eggs a year. Dogs, which are regarded as unclean, are borne down by such a judgment like badly treated human beings. They turn vicious and revert to the jackals from which they came. Is it the dog's fault if he grows dangerous? And what has the red and yellow cat done that it should sit blinking in the corner, plump and domestic, following the vagabond dog with its eyes, half in fear and half in contempt? The pigs belong to the Christians, but who knows behind that white wall the Muslim, flouting the hygienic precepts of his prophet, exchanges a good piece of his beloved mutton for a Coptic ham. And then I go all the way to near the end, 499. Towards the end of this book, I just wanted to get done. As a long book, anytime you go 600 pages, it's a long book. And this is a description of the Nile festival, which they have every year, which coincides with the flood. For 6,000 years, that's what these people have done, is tried to tame the river and tried to live according to the annual flood. So they have this festival. No matter who's in charge of Egypt, no matter what religion is the flavor of the month at that time, they still have this festival of the Nile. And bawling, the crowd rolls along behind two half-naked fencers who are carrying on a sham fight with long sticks. For on a day like this, the mob wants to see its own habits turn to fun. But the frontier of the serious is never closed, and screams cut through the multitudinous laughter. All eyes have turned to the dervish at the edge of the street. Can this be a joke? He has slit up his belly with a knife and taken out his entrails, and now he is putting them back again as a sailor piles ropes in the stern of the boat, while the people, horror-struck and delighted, throw him their copper. One, more important, tries to stick his coin into the gaping stomach. There was more stuff about the dervishes. And after that, after I read that part, I read a little bit of that to my wife. I had to go and find this poem by Kipling about the fuzzy wuzzy that broke a British square. And, you know, everybody's got access to Google. Go look at that poem. Kipling was pretty good. He's a bit jingo, but he was pretty good. And that poem is really good. Thanks for watching.